Mexico City Electricity Company workers, while digging, discovered a massive stone disc in a bookstore basement in 1978. Coyolxauhqui, the Aztec moon goddess, was dismembered on its almost 11-foot surface, and the statue's torso was nude, save for a snake belt. Her amputated arms, legs, and head surrounded her, and Huitzilopochtli, her brother, had killed her after his birth. Aztecs worshipped Huitzilopochtli, and he helped them grow from crude farmers to the deadliest civilization in the Americas. Around 1100, the city-states or altepetl that were dispersed across central Mexico began to struggle for local resources and regional power. Each state had its own monarch, or Tlatoani, who led a council of nobles. But these small urban centers surrounded by agriculture quickly sought to expand their riches and influence. And by around 1400, numerous minor empires had developed in the Valley of Mexico. Texcoco, the capital of the Cholula area, and Azcapotzalco, the seat of the Tepanec, were the most powerful. However, the Tepanec War pitted these two nations against each other in 1428, and an alliance of Texcoco, Tenochtitlan, and numerous other minor cities overcame the Azcapotzalco army. Following the triumph, a triple alliance was created between Texcoco, Tenochtitlan, and Tlacopan, a rebel Tepanec city. A campaign of territorial expansion began, with the gains of battle, usually in the form of tributes from conquered lands, being shared among these three major cities. Tenochtitlan came to dominate the alliance over time, and its ruler became the ultimate ruler, the Huitzilopochtli, and the city established itself as the Aztec Empire's capital. By 1430, the Aztec military swept aside their opponents, backed by conscription of all adult males, men supplied by allies and conquered states. An Aztec warrior wore padded cotton armor, carried a hide-covered wooden or reed shield, and wielded weapons such as a razor-sharp obsidian sword club known as the macuahuitl, a spear or dart thrower called the atlatl, and a bow and arrows. Elite fighters were distinguished by stunning feathered and animal skin outfits and headdresses. Battles were centered in or around big cities, and when these fell, the victors took control of the entire surrounding territory. Regular tributes were collected, and captives were returned to Tenochtitlan for ritual sacrifice. As the Aztec Empire grew over time, it encompassed the majority of northern Mexico, an area of around 135,000 square kilometers. The empire was held together by the appointment of officials from the heartland of Aztec culture, intermarriages, gift-giving, invitations to important ceremonies, the construction of monuments, artworks, and most importantly, the ever-present threat of military intervention. While certain states were more integrated than others, those on the empire's outskirts served as helpful buffer zones against more hostile neighbors, most notably the Tarascan civilization. By the early 16th century, the Aztec metropolis of Tenochtitlan developed to the point where it could boast at least 200,000 inhabitants, making it the largest city in the pre-Columbian Americas. These people were separated into numerous social classes. Local rulers or the Teotihuactin were at the top, followed by nobles or the Pipiltin, commoners also called the Macualtin, serfs known as the Mayek, and ultimately slaves called the Tlacotin. Although the strata appear to have been reasonably stable, there is a considerable indication of movement between them, particularly among the lowest classes. Nonetheless, Tenochtitlan was not only the political and religious capital, but also a huge trading center, with goods such as gold, greenstone, turquoise, cotton, cacao beans, tobacco, pottery, tools, weapons, foodstuffs, and slaves flowing in and out. The beauty and spectacular architecture and artwork of the city, particularly the Templo Mayor pyramid and gigantic stone statues, wowed the world. The massive sacred precinct, with its temples and gigantic ball court, dominated the city, and Tenochtitlan's water management was particularly outstanding, with massive canals crisscrossing the city, which was bordered by chinampas, raised and flooded fields, that substantially boosted the Aztecs' agricultural capacity. There were also anti-flood dikes, artificial freshwater reservoirs, and beautiful flower beds strewn across the city. Mythology and religion were inextricably linked for the Aztecs, as they were for most ancient nations. Tenochtitlan was founded on the premise that peoples from the legendary realm of Plenty Aztlan, the source of the Aztec name, in the far northwest, had originally landed in the Valley of Mexico. According to the belief, Huitzilopochtli, their god, had sent an eagle perched on a cactus to point out exactly where these newcomers should establish their new home. The god also gave these people their name, the Mexica, who, along with other ethnic groups that spoke Nahuatl, formed the Aztecs. The Aztec pantheon was made up of a blend of elder Mesoamerican gods and Mexica deities. Huitzilopochtli, the war and sun god, and Tlaloc, the rain deity, were the two main gods that each had temples on top of the Templo Mayor pyramid in the heart of Tenochtitlan. Nonetheless, some other gods for the Aztecs included Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god common to many Mesoamerican cultures, Tezcatlipoca, Texcoco's supreme god, Totec, god of spring and agriculture, Xiuhtecutli, god of fire, Xochipilli, god of summertime and flowers, Ometeotl, the creator god, Mictlantecutli, god of the dead, and Kot, the Earth Mother goddess. This befuddling collection of gods ruled over every facet of human existence. The timing of rites in honor of these deities was regulated by a variety of calendars. The Aztec calendar was 260 days long and divided into 20 weeks of 13 days each, with names like crocodile and wind. There was also a solar calendar with 18 months of 20 days each. The movement of planets and stars was meticulously studied, albeit not as precisely as the Maya, and it provided the motivation for the precise timing of numerous religious rites and agricultural practices. Unsurprisingly, the sun was very important to the Aztecs. They thought that the world moved through a succession of cosmic eras, each with its own sun, but eventually, each world was destroyed and replaced by another until the fifth and final age. The current day for the Aztecs was achieved. Festivals, banquets, music, dancing, statue adornment, incense burning, the ritual burial of precious commodities, penances such as bloodletting, and animal and human sacrifices were used to honor the gods. War dominated Aztec interactions with foreign nations. The Aztecs conquered surrounding regions for tribute and human sacrifice. When a country closed its ways to commerce, assassinated a merchant or ambassador, or refused tribute, the war was justifiable, and it was declared ritually by the Aztec ruler who dispatched envoys. The opposition had 20 days to submit to Aztec rule and receive weapons as a gift. If no agreement was reached, the opponent received more weaponry and another 20 days to respond. If this second offer failed, a third and harsher warning was delivered, after which the enemy was punished. Combatants were enslaved and sacrificed, and captives had to fight Aztec warriors with a handicap to escape, such as with one hand tied behind their backs. The warrior would be released if he won. The Aztecs were also known to participate in flower wars. These conflicts were fought to prepare warriors for battle and to secure human sacrifices for religious ceremonies. The majority of sacrificial victims were captive warriors. The Aztecs valued fine art and collected artifacts from across their kingdom to bring back to Tenochtitlan, where they were often ceremonially buried. Aztec art was diverse, ranging from minute carved valuable things to gigantic stone structures. Artisans specialized in metals, wood carving, or stone sculpture, and were organized in guilds affiliated with the great palaces. These people, using materials such as amethyst, rock crystal, gold, silver, and exotic feathers, created some of the most remarkable artifacts, such as the famed mask of Xiuhtecutli, made up of turquoise mosaic. With all that being now, let's see how the Aztec Empire fell. Francisco Hernández de Córdoba was the first European to go to what is now Mexico. He came to Yucatan from Cuba with 3 ships and about 100 men in early 1517. However, when Córdoba returned to Cuba, the Spanish governor there, Diego Velázquez, sent a larger force under the command of Hernán Cortés back to Mexico. In March 1519, Cortés landed in the town of Tabasco, and at the time, Moctezuma, or Montezuma II, was the ruler of the Aztecs. Cortés went against Velázquez's orders and built the city of Veracruz on the southeast coast of Mexico. There, he trained his army, and then, with about 400 soldiers, marched into Mexico. In the meantime, because the Aztec Empire wasn't stable, Cortés was able to make deals with other native people as well, especially the Tlaxcalans, who were at war with Montezuma at the time. In November 1519, Cortés and his men arrived in Tenochtitlan, where Montezuma and his people treated them as honored guests, in part because Cortés looked like the light-skinned Quetzalcoatl, whose return was predicted in Aztec legend. And even though the Aztecs had more people, their weapons were worse. This is why Cortés was able to take Montezuma and his group of lords as prisoners. The Spaniards then killed thousands of Aztec nobles during a dance ceremony, and Montezuma died in prison under unclear circumstances. European diseases like smallpox, mumps, and measles were also powerful weapons against the local people, who were not immune to them. By 1520, 40% of Tenochtitlan's people had died from smallpox in just 1 year. When Cuauhtémoc, Montezuma's young nephew, became emperor, the Spanish were driven out of the city by the Aztecs. Nonetheless, Cortés attacked Tenochtitlan again with the help of the Aztecs' rivals from the native tribes. On August 13, 1521, Cuauhtémoc's resistance was finally broken, and it is thought that about 240,000 people died when the city was taken over. After Cortés won, he destroyed Tenochtitlan and built Mexico City on the ruins. This brings us to the end of this video. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and sharing so we can keep bringing more content like this. See you next time.